Vienna in December. If you've been on the internet anytime since, I don't know, about 2018, you have been absolutely bombarded by the Vienna promise.
Oh, completely. It's arguably the most marketed winter destination on the planet right now.
It really is. You've seen the reels, right? The little dusting of snow on the Opera House, those perfectly steaming mugs of punch. It's this vision of a cozy, crowd-free winter wonderland.
Yeah, something straight out of a 19th century watercolor painting. It's the ultimate bucket list fantasy.
Sure.
That European capital that somehow combines, imperial grandeur with this festive intimacy.
But, and we have to be really honest right out of the gate here, based on everything we've seen, that fantasy often crashes into reality.
It crashes hard with the force of a high-speed train.
It crashes almost immediately. And here's the hard truth we need to start with. Vienna in December is basically the Disneyland of Christmas markets.
And you don't mean that as a compliment to the magic.
No, I mean it in terms of structure and cost. It's an engineered, very high-cost environment.
Yeah.
And if you don't know exactly what logistical traps to avoid, you are going to spend 3 days just standing in line, not soaking up history, but waiting for a public toilet or desperately looking for an ATM that won't charge you some crazy fee.
That said, I do have to balance out your necessary cynicism. Because despite the sheer industrial scale of it all, despite the insane crowds, there is this moment. It's genuinely magical.
What?
It hits you usually around 4:30 p.m., right when the sun completely drops in mid-December, and all the city's elaborate lights, especially around the Rathausplatz, the city hall, they all turn on. And in that one instant, it truly feels like the heavy imperial history of the Austro-Hungarian Empire is just wrapping itself around you. It's a feeling of undeniable grandeur. It's very, very hard to replicate anywhere else, and that's the moment they're selling.
And that perfect image is what drives millions of people there. So our mission today is to figure out if that image is authentic, or if Vienna is just a massively effective tourist trap wrapped in some very expensive tinsel. We are doing a deep dive focused entirely on Vienna, Austria, and its Christmas market culture.
We really need to figure out the survival guide elements, because as we saw in the sources, the difference between a great trip and a miserable, cold, expensive one, it comes down to about 3 crucial pieces of knowledge.
Right. Let's unpack this with the 3 core nuggets of insight that should totally reorient your trip planning. First one, the biggest, most famous market, the one on every single postcard, is almost universally the worst place to spend your money, your time, and your sanity.
You go there for the picture, and that's it.
You go for the view, but you leave immediately to conduct your business elsewhere.
Okay, second point. You absolutely must revert to a pre-digital financial mindset. I mean, we're telling you to bring substantially more physical cash in mixed bills than you have probably used in the last 5 years combined.
It's so true. Vienna's market ecosystem still runs on a physical cash economy. And this is a critical logistical factor.
It's not a suggestion. It's a requirement.
And third, the best, most delicious, and most satisfying food isn't actually inside the main market zones at all. The highest quality food experiences are almost always found just outside, which means you have to actively seek out local places rather than just relying on the market stalls for dinner.
And we should probably address the major physical downside right away. Vienna is cold, yes, but it's not that, dry, fluffy cold of the Alps. It is a specific, wet, biting kind of cold.
It is the notorious wind, the Viennese slice. It comes right off the Danube River, and it just cuts through fashion-forward clothing like a surgical instrument.
Oh.
I mean, if you pack for the aesthetic, that cute wool coat and thin jeans, instead of prioritizing functional, synthetic, thermal survival gear,
You're done for.
the sources suggest you will be utterly miserable for the entire trip. We are prioritizing warmth over vanity in this deep dive.
I'm here to look at the soul, the safety, and the cultural context of these markets, especially why they still remain important to the Viennese themselves.
And I'm going to handle the wallet, the logistics, and the hard mathematical truths about navigating millions of international visitors all at the same time. By the end of this conversation, we'll give you the exact budget bands, the 3 financial and logistical traps you have to avoid, and a final, tailored verdict for every type of traveler listening. Is Vienna worth the hype, or is it just an extensive, well-oiled machine? Let's unpack this. Okay, let's jump right into segment 1, context and expectations. Or, as we're calling it, the market industrial complex. We need to set the scene for why Vienna has become this singular focus for winter travelers.
The sources all point to what you called the bucket list phenomenon. The Christmas market trick has basically replaced the summer beach vacation as the definitive European experience.
Especially for certain groups, right?
Right, specifically for travelers from the US, Australia, and parts of Asia, they're all chasing that idealized social media image of, coziness and old world charm.
And that chase creates what we're defining as the high-friction environment. If you are going between mid-November, specifically November 15th, when the major markets open, and December 26th, you have to immediately abandon the image of a quaint village celebration.
You are entering an industry, the sources were absolutely specific about this. This is a massive commercial machine.
It truly is the market industrial complex. Vienna doesn't just have one or two markets. It has over 20 official markets that span the entire city.
And we are talking about millions of visitors concentrated into a 6-week period and a relatively small geographical area, mostly around the 1st and 7th districts. The sheer volume just changes the DNA of the experience.
And this is the danger zone. The immediate expectation versus reality gap. You arrive, you're hoping for silent, gently falling snow, maybe a moment of reflection.
And what you're most likely to get, according to all the sources, is gray slush under your feet and the elbowing intensity of 40,000 people pushing for the same photo angle of the Wraith House.
Or just trying to reach a stall to buy a punch.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we need to stop and acknowledge what we can call the Austrian paradox.
Okay.
Despite the intense chaos created by millions of tourists, the infrastructure works. This isn't a disorganized mess. It is Austrian, and it functions with, ruthless efficiency.
From the U-Bahn to the trash collection, everything runs on time.
Everything. But, and this is the critical caveat, it functions strictly on their terms. The visitor has to conform to the system. The system will not bend for the tourist's whim.
That conformity, that kind of abrupt, efficient service, that's a cultural element we are definitely going to return to. But first, let's ground ourselves in the history, because that's the soul that justifies the cost.
Exactly. I mean, the markets date back literally to the Middle Ages. They were initially known as the Krippenmarkt, the crib market.
So not just about drinking and shopping.
Not at all. Historically, these were places where people bought necessary goods for the winter, especially nativity pieces and materials for the Christmas Eve celebration. That deep history is what anchors the modern experience and stops it from feeling like just a giant shopping mall.
You stress that even with the flood of international tourists, for the true Viennese, this is still their living room.
It absolutely is, and you can identify the authentic core experience if you look closely. You'll see locals standing at the high, round tables clustered together. They are not shopping for mass-produced souvenirs.
What are they doing?
They are there for the social aspect. Drinking glühwein or punch, gossiping, and yes, complaining vigorously about local or federal politics. That social, standing in the cold, communal drinking aspect, that is what is still authentically Viennese. And that's the experience the discerning traveler should really try to tap into.
But that authentic core is now wrapped in a massive, lucrative commercial enterprise. The sources warn that prices in Vienna for December travel are just skyrocketing year over year.
Oh, double-digit increases sometimes just for a hotel room. Vienna is pivoting from what might have been considered a well-kept secret of winter tourism just a decade ago to what must now be understood as a pure luxury commodity.
That successful branding, that Vienna promise, means the city can charge a premium, and the pricing strategy reflects that success across the board, from hotels to the price of a single sausage.
So if someone listening is committed to going, knowing they're entering this market industrial complex, what's the necessary mindset shift? How do they survive the intensity?
They must treat the trip exactly like attending a massive, noisy, and occasionally chaotic European music or arts festival, not a private, silent moment of reflection.
That's a great way to put it. If you adjust your expectation to anticipate long queues, security checks at major entries, and shoulder-to-shoulder noise, if you embrace the organized chaos, you will probably have a wonderful time.
But if you stubbornly cling to that silent night expectation of a cozy, empty street scene,
you will hate every minute of it. You'll hate the high friction, the pushing, the intense noise, and you will feel constantly disappointed that your reality doesn't match the idealized image you saw on Instagram.
go in thinking festival.
That is the survival mechanism for your mood, and honestly, it's the only way to genuinely enjoy the vibrancy of the crowds. Okay, let's transition now into segment 2. First impressions. So you've adjusted your mindset, you've landed, you've taken the S-Bahn, not the CAT, which we'll get to. What hits the visitor in that first 24 hours? What is that first sensory and cultural arrival like?
For me, the first and most overwhelming impression is just the sheer scale and grandeur of the place. You step out of one of the massive train stations, and the city doesn't feel like a modern European capital designed for 9 million people.
No, it feels much bigger.
It was designed and built to be the unquestioned capital ruling an empire of 50 million people, stretching all across Central Europe.
And that scale is deliberate. I mean,
Right.
think about the physical structures.
Hmm?
The Hofburg Palace, the massive Ringstrasse Boulevard itself, the vast museums. The design of the city is meant to make the individual visitor feel inherently small.
A little subordinate, yeah.
A little insignificant, maybe. It emphasizes the historical weight and the power of the place.
But then you get the details, and the most immediate small detail is the scent. The olfactory experience of Christmas Vienna is so distinctive and immediate.
Even blocks away from the markets. Right?
Yeah, blocks away, the air is just saturated. You smell the roasting chestnuts, the maroni, and that intense clove cinnamon spice of the punch. It just clings to the air. That smell is the instant, visceral signifier that you have arrived. It overrides almost everything else.
That smell contrasts so sharply with the surprising cleanliness factor. The sources consistently noted this distinction when comparing Vienna to its major European peers.
Right. It's not like Paris or Rome in that respect.
Not at all. Vienna is surprisingly, almost obsessively clean. Even amidst the winter gray slush and the heavy foot traffic of the markets, the city is maintained to an imperial standard. That efficiency is pervasive.
And that standard of maintenance leads us directly into the key cultural challenge that catches so many international travelers off guard, the stiffness of service.
Ah, yes. If you are coming from North America or Australia, where service is usually overly friendly and chatty, Vienna will feel like a shock.
It is the Schnell city quick, please. It's not a place for casual banter or, hey, how are you, buddy? Service. The service culture is transactional.
It's efficient, and it's often perceived as abrupt or cold.
I was genuinely shocked by that feeling of being scolded. One of our sources wrote, I felt like I was breaking an unspoken rule every time I ordered anything.
I can see that.
If you stand in the wrong place, you get a sharp German instruction. If you hesitate while ordering coffee or accidentally use the wrong word, you receive a look that could instantly chill your Glühwein. It feels, well, intimidating.
And that requires a major mental shift for the traveler. You have to internalize that the abruptness is not personal malice. It is cultural efficiency. If you walk into a traditional Viennese cafe house, it truly feels like entering a library. There are unspoken rules about how to sit, how to order, how long to stay.
Embracing that transactional speed is crucial to avoiding feeling personally offended.
Absolutely. But the visual reward in the evening does compensate for it. When you walk the Ringstrasse at night, the whole scene is the epitome of visual elegance. The lighting isn't gaudy or plastic.
No, it's not commercialized. It's designed, again, to emphasize historical wealth and gravitas.
We're talking about massive crystal-style chandeliers literally hanging over the street. The light is warm, golden, and serious. It confirms the feeling that this is a city of undeniable, serious historical wealth. It treats Christmas not as a fad, but as a monumental event.
And then you make the first and most common mistake, which is being drawn to the brightest light, the Rathausplatz mosh pit.
You see the illuminated city hall, the grandest backdrop imaginable, and you just rush in. It is undeniably stunning. It's iconic.
It's the picture they sell you.
But the reality is, as one of our sources described, an overwhelming, chaotic mosh pit.
Our team attempted to get a single essential cup of Glühwein there. We documented a 25-minute experience of just elbowing through dense, static crowds, just to reach the counter, pay the fee, and then try to find space to lift the cup to our mouths without spilling it on 5 other people.
And that initial high-friction experience at Rathausplatz is a critical learning moment, though. It sets the precedent that visiting the primary, most famous markets is not casual. It requires planning, strategic navigation, and a great deal of patience.
It confirms the first of our 3 core insights. The biggest market is often the worst one. Segment 3, costs, value, and the infamous Glühwein index. Okay, we have to dive deep into the spreadsheet now because Vienna is expensive and December is its peak pricing moment where the tourist tax hits its absolute zenith.
This is a segment we really need to expand on because financial misunderstanding is the quickest way to spoil a trip. Let's start with the central activity, consuming drinks at the markets. We need to detail the crucial cost structure of drinks because it critically affects your immediate cash flow. This is the Glühwein index.
Right, so a single mug of standard mulled wine or a non-alcoholic punch is going to run you between, what, 5 euro and 750. That's just the cost of the liquid.
But here's the critical logistical and financial trap. The PFAN, the mandatory deposit.
The deposit on the mug is substantial, and it's non-negotiable. It's another 4.0 to 5 per mug.
Right, and this is done to prevent disposable waste and encourage mug return, but it creates a serious liquidity problem for the traveler.
Let's do the math that caught us off guard. A first round of 2 drinks for a couple is roughly 12 euro for the liquid, plus another 8 euro in deposits. That is an immediate out-of-pocket expenditure of 25 euro just for 2 drinks.
And if you visit 5 markets over 2 days, purchasing 1 drink at each, you've just laid out 50 euros simply in deposits that you have to track, carry, and eventually return.
It's a logistical nightmare. That whole process of tracking the fan is something you need to prepare for. You might have 5 different mugs from 5 different markets, each with a 4 or 5 deposit value.
Trying to keep track of 4 or 5 freezing mugs while navigating dense crowds, and then trying to remember which stall you got them from to get your deposit back, it just adds this incredible layer of low-grade financial stress.
We recommend choosing a hub market and only buying drinks there to minimize that fanned risk.
Exactly. And the food is not cheap either, despite its casual, street food nature.
A simple basic sausage is 7 to 9 euro. A medium plate of Kaiserschmarrn, those wonderfully caramelized shredded pancakes, is around 10 if you add a side of potatoes or a small soup.
You can easily spend upwards of 50 euro per person for what is basically a snack dinner while standing outside shivering.
So let's explicitly break down the source's budget bands, starting with the group for whom Vienna is the harshest, the backpacker budget traveler.
The sources explicitly deem Vienna a struggling environment for this type of traveler. Hostels, which are usually the budget baseline, spike severely in December to 40 to 60 euros a night just for a dorm bed. That inflationary pressure is intense.
Their daily budget is estimated at a very tight 70 euro 90. That leaves virtually no margin for the actual market experience, especially factoring in that 5 over glue wine and $5 deposit.
So the strategy for survival here is harsh but necessary. You must avoid eating inside the markets entirely. Your meals have to come from the cheaper supermarkets like Billa or Spar.
You can rely on the regular street Würstel stand, the sausage stands, that are outside the designated commercial market zones. They're local, usually cheaper, and higher quality.
And you need to literally pre-game your drinks before entering the market area to save money. This requires immense discipline.
Okay, then we have the mid-range traveler, couples friends. This is the largest visitor group, and it's described as the sweet spot that is still financially painful.
Very painful. Decent 3-star or 4-star hotels are running very high. 180 euro to 250 euro a night in December, making accommodation the absolute killer expense.
So if they are splitting that hotel cost, their daily budget still lands at 200 to 250 euros per person when you factor in food, transport, and a few drinks. That is a significant expenditure.
And about 40% higher than a comparable trip to Prague or Budapest.
So their survival strategies to balance their spending strategically. They can afford the market experience, but they have to use it judiciously. Maybe 1 market drink per day, 1 market snack.
But they must prioritize 1 nice, warm, sit-down meal per day in a proper restaurant. A traditional schnitzel dinner in a good Viennese restaurant, for example, will cost about 25 euro, 35 euro per person plus drinks. While expensive, it offers far better value and comfort than a 12 lukewarm goulash in a rock-hard bread bowl at the Rathausplatz.
And utilizing the public transit pass is crucial for them to shave off taxi costs.
Definitely. Finally, the luxury traveler. For them, the sky is, thankfully, the limit, though still high. They are staying at world-class hotels like the Sacher, the Ritz-Carlton, or the Park Hyatt, often paying 800 plus per night.
Their daily budget is estimated at 1,500 plus won.
But the sources conclude that the value proposition here is actually high, because the luxury experience in Vienna is truly world-class, seamless, and efficient. The crowds just melt away when you have private services and access to the best venues.
You're paying for total friction elimination.
Exactly. But let's return to the mid-range sweet spot. Is the value truly there for that $250 per day?
It's borderline. You are paying a massive 40% premium compared to similarly beautiful Central European cities like Prague or Budapest. You are paying for the brand of Vienna, the imperial polish, and that guaranteed infrastructure efficiency.
And you have to scrutinize the goods being sold. The inventory quality in the market stalls is highly variable. A large percentage, the sources estimated 50% or more, is what we'd term mass-produced junk.
Generic Christmas items you could easily source online, or get imported cheaply.
Right. To find real value, you have to actively hunt for the genuine handmade crafts, the unique ceramics, the local beeswax candles, or the specialized food items. The true value, as we keep circling back to, is often the total package. Access to world-class museums, the music venues, and that undeniable, beautiful imperial backdrop.
You are purchasing the atmosphere and the culture, not necessarily the market goods themselves. If you accept the cost up front, the experience is superb. If you are debating the price, pivot your strategy aggressively.
Okay, segment 4, let's talk logistics. You've booked the trip, you understand the enormous costs, and you've accepted the need for cash. Now, how do you avoid the planning traps that just drain your time and money?
Logistics is where Vienna both shines and where most visitors fail due to sheer lack of preparation. Vienna boasts the Wiener Linien, one of the best integrated public transport systems in the world. U-Bahn, trams, buses. Using it is an absolute necessity for survival, for budget control, and for warmth.
But the traps are laid immediately upon arrival at Vienna International Airport.
Trap #1, the City Airport Train, CAT. This is a heavily marketed, expensive trap. It looks sleek, it's painted green, it's fast, and it costs roughly €14 one way or 24 round trip.
And travelers see the marketing saturation and they just assume it's the only modern way into the city.
The fix is simple and critical for budget management. Take the S-Bahn, specifically the S7 line. The sources confirm that the S7 uses the exact same tracks as the CAT.
It's amazing. It takes maybe 5 minutes longer, about 30 minutes versus 25 minutes, to reach the city center.
But look at the financial gravity of this choice. The S7 costs only 4.4 one way. For a couple traveling round trip, the CAT costs 58.40. The S7 costs 17.6 even. That is over €40 immediately saved just by choosing the correct train line.
Do not take the CAT.
That is money that can buy 8 cups of blue wine.
Trap #2, the Mozart Men. This is a classic cultural and financial trap, located outside major cultural hubs like the State Opera and St. Stephen's Cathedral. You will be approached by aggressive ticket sellers dressed in powdered wigs and velvet coats, waving clipboards.
I found the tenacity of these men absurd. They literally try to walk in front of you. You have to walk away swiftly and firmly. The sources confirm these tickets are invariably for poor acoustic, third-tier venues featuring generic, non-famous orchestras.
You're paying top dollar for a low-value experience. If you want genuine Viennese culture, the State Opera, the legendary Vienna Philharmonic at the Musikverein, you need to book directly on their official websites, and often weeks, if not months in advance.
Never buy culture from a guy in a powdered wig on the street.
Trap #3, market hopping burnout. This is a trap of ambition. Travelers see 20 markets on the map and they attempt to hit 5 or 6 markets in a single night.
And Vienna, despite its efficient transit, is just too spread out. The crowded nature of the markets adds significant time to crowd navigation.
The fix is to pick 2, maybe 3 markets max and use them as your strategic hubs. Spend time there, enjoy the atmosphere, return your pan seamlessly, and then move on to a warm dinner. Your energy level will thank you.
And you won't feel like you're running a Christmas market marathon. Now, let's deeply reiterate the essential gear required for survival against the Viennese slice. The sources really stress this physical preparation.
You are fighting the damp cold. Temperatures hover around freezing, 0 degrees C, 32 degrees F, but the sources emphasize that the dampness and the specific wind chill make it feel closer to -10 degrees C. 14 degrees F. This is not a vanity trip.
No, this is a technical survival trip in terms of comfort.
We need functional thermal layers. Move beyond the idea of just wearing a jacket. You need wool or synthetic base layers that wick moisture. Your outer layer must be windproof.
The sources explicitly mention the failure of thin denim or standard fashion wool coats to stop that cutting wind. Prioritize wind-resistant shell jackets and thermal leggings under your trousers.
And absolutely, the shoes. You will be standing, often motionless, for hours on hard, freezing cobblestones. You need thick-soled, waterproof, comfortable boots with space for thick wool socks.
Comfort over style is rule number 1. If you wear thin sneakers or fashion heels, your feet will quickly become frozen and your overall comfort will just plummet, guaranteeing misery.
But the most critical logistical warning we teased earlier, and this is crucial for the success of your deep dive, involves the economy. Cash is king.
Vienna is such an anomaly in the modern digital world. It is obsessed with cash, particularly at the markets. Many authentic, smaller market stalls, the ones selling the genuinely handmade crafts we want you to find, do not take cards.
Or they will conveniently tell you their machine is broken due to the cold, or the signal is bad.
The consequence of not carrying cash is not just an inconvenience, it's a financial failure. You will miss out on the best, most unique purchases because you can only buy from the large commercialized stalls that accept plastic.
And if you rely on ATMs, the sources confirm that ATM transaction fees, especially at third-party machines, are often exorbitant. We saw fees as high as 8% of the withdrawal amount.
So the fix is non-negotiable. You must arrive with cash or use bank ATMs, and you must carry 100 to 150 euros in mixed bills. 10s and 20s are best at all times. Relying solely on plastic will severely limit your enjoyment.
And finally, don't forget the small change. You need coins, typically 50 cents, for public toilets. The sources mention the minor but frequent annoyance of the Santa Fe voucher system at train stations.
Right. You pay 50 cents, and they give you a 50-cent voucher for coffee. It's a transaction you just have to endure. And fumbling for 50 cents with freezing fingers is an irritating ritual. Keep a small coin purse ready.
Segment 5, let's pivot to safety and comfort. This is essential for peace of mind, especially when you are navigating the high-friction environment we've established. We can confidently confirm that Vienna is statistically one of the safest major European cities. Violent crime is extremely low, even late at night. The sources were emphatic, giving it a 100 out of 10 safety rating for solo female travelers due to excellent lighting, reliable, staffed public transport, and a general sense of public order.
However, that high safety rating for violent crime is aggressively contrasted with the perfect storm for petty crime. The Christmas markets are, unfortunately, pickpocket heaven.
Think about the physical dynamics again. You are in shoulder-to-shoulder crowds at main markets like Rathausplatz or Schönbrunn. You are visually distracted looking up at the beautiful lights.
And you're often physically immobilized by holding a hot drink with both hands, making it impossible to defend yourself quickly. Your pockets become an easy target.
The fix for this high risk is simple vigilance, which must be constantly maintained. Valuables, passports, large bills, cards should only be carried in zipped, secure inside pockets of your jacket or coat.
Sling bags should be worn securely on the front of your chest. I cannot stress this enough. Never, ever use back pockets for phones or wallets. Vienna is safe, but high-density crowds are universal magnets for opportunistic theft.
Let's move to environmental and health hazards, because the greatest threats to your trip's enjoyment aren't criminal, they are self-inflicted or environmental.
Hazard number 1, the smoke. Culturally, Austria was late to the no-smoking trend in public spaces compared to other Western European nations.
What this means in practice is that in the outdoor markets, people smoke everywhere, constantly. You are standing in densely packed crowds, and you are breathing dense secondhand smoke throughout your entire market visit.
Travelers who are sensitive, or those with asthma, must be acutely prepared for this constant exposure. The sources noted that this pervasive smoke drastically lowers the overall comfort level.
It turns what should be a pleasant moment into an environmental irritant.
Hazard number 2, the damp cold. We've discussed the necessity of layers, but let's look at the science of the cold here. The dampness, combined with that relentless Viennese wind, cuts heat transfer immediately. We reiterate, proper technical dressing is not optional.
It is necessary to avoid guaranteed bone-deep misery. If your feet or hands get cold, your entire experience is ruined.
And then there's the major health risk associated with the core product itself, the glue wine hangover.
This is a silent killer of good trips, causing extreme headaches and ruining the next morning's sightseeing plans.
Why is this unique? Because the cheap punch mix found at many of the high-volume tourist stalls, especially at Rathausplatz, has an extremely high sugar content, sometimes more sugar than a major soft drink.
And you combine that sugary alcohol with dehydration because people are actively avoiding paying for expensive market water or finding and paying for a toilet, and you are heading straight for a catastrophic sugar crash and a severe headache the next morning.
This requires a conscious, simple health fix. You must intersperse your glue wine or punch consumption with paid water, despite the cost and inconvenience of the toilets. Stay aggressively hydrated.
And if you can, seek out the more authentic, less sugary glue wine varieties rather than the bright red industrial punch mix.
Finally, scams. Vienna is relatively clean of elaborate, organized scams, but you must be aware of the classic distraction techniques. The dropped ring trick, where someone tries to engage you to return a fake piece of jewelry.
Or aggressive petition signing with a clipboard designed to distract you while an accomplice picks your pocket. The sources were clear. Ignore anyone who approaches you with a clipboard or an overly dramatic, emotional story about a lost item.
Maintain your focus on your valuables and just walk away swiftly. Assume any unsought street engagement is a form of distraction. Segment 6. Let's get prescriptive. We've covered the traps and the necessary survival gear. Now let's talk about the specific best moments and the biggest disappointments based on the concrete experiences documented in the sources.
I will start with what we deemed the absolute best market experience, which aligns perfectly with our first core insight, the Spittelberg market.
Spittelberg is located in the 7th District, Neubau, which is a great area for mid-range travelers, as we'll discuss later. What makes it so utterly superior to the central markets?
It's the geography. It inherently limits that market industrial complex feel. It's not on a massive, impersonal open square designed to house 40,000 people and dozens of tour buses.
It's woven into the neighborhood itself.
Exactly. It's intimately woven into 3 narrow cobblestone streets, making it feel genuinely integrated. It is cozy, atmospheric, and yes, truly Dickensian.
And the key differentiating factor is the stall inventory. This is where you find true value and authenticity. The stalls at Spittelberg are run by real craftspeople.
They are selling legitimate, often high-end arts, specialized ceramics, small-batch beeswax candles, and beautiful hand-blown glass ornaments. These are items that were visibly made by humans rather than mass-produced imports.
We specifically discovered a small courtyard there, serving authentic home-brewed beer punch, a dense berry punch that was notable for being perfectly spiced and, importantly, not overly sweet.
And because the streets are so narrow and constrained, no tour buses can access them, which automatically limits the crowd size and, crucially, shifts the demographic from purely transient tourists to a much higher percentage of locals. That feels like genuine, achievable magic.
My favorite moment, though, was less about intimate magic and more about efficient, comfortable enjoyment. The logistics of the ring tram.
Oh, this is a genius, low-effort experience for the tired, cold traveler who wants to soak up the grandeur without fighting the crowds.
Taking the public tram, either Line 1 or the D line around the Ringstrasse, specifically at night, is by far the best sightseeing value in the city. You are warm, you have a guaranteed seat, and you get to watch the illuminated Imperial City, the museums, the Parliament, the Opera, the Berg Theater float by like a continuous, elegant Christmas panorama.
And it costs the standard public transit fare, roughly $2.40 if you have a ticket. It is a fantastic, necessary reset button after fighting the crowds at Rathausplatz.
Now for the letdowns. What was the worst market disappointment? The one you should plan to skip entirely.
That distinction goes to the Schönbrunn Palace market. This is the ultimate example of the tourist fantasy breaking down under logistical pressure. Yes, the palace backdrop is historically incredible, but the market itself is remotely located, a 30-minute U-Bahn ride from the center.
And what you get upon arrival is a massive, dusty wind tunnel.
Our sources noted that the experience was physically unpleasant. The open geography of the palace grounds, combined with the wind off the surrounding fields, meant that grit was literally blowing into the drinks.
And the stalls mostly contained overpriced, generic tourist tat. Because of the weather and the poor value proposition, travelers consistently cut their losses, often leaving in under 20 minutes. It's a total tourist trap, capitalizing solely on the palace name.
My personal biggest disappointment, confirming our third core insight, was the food quality at the epicenter, the Rathausplatz food.
You wanted that iconic market food experience, and you paid a severe premium for it, correct?
I paid €12 for a soup and a bread bowl, the quintessential winter market photo op. It was a complete spellbreaker. The bread was stale, absolutely rock hard, you couldn't tear it. And the soup inside was lukewarm, highly processed powder mix goulash.
It was inedible.
Frankly, inedible. I realized I had paid €12 for an inferior prop.
This leads us to the golden rule, summarized by the source material, which you must internalize. Go to the Rathausplatz to look at the spectacular lights and the city hall, and maybe skate on the ice rink.
But you must immediately leave and eat at the more intimate, higher-quality markets like Spittelberg, or even better, Freyung, or in a warm restaurant outside the market zones.
Separate the visual, high-impact photo opportunity from the actual culinary experience. Segment 7. Alternatives and the Imperial Triangle. Vienna is arguably the standard, but perhaps that $250 a day mid-range price tag is just too much. Or maybe the high-friction environment is a deterrent for a traveler seeking true quiet. Where else can they go to scratch that Christmas market itch?
We have 2 main regional alternatives, starting with option 1, Salzburg.
Salzburg is tailor-made for the romantic, for the traveler seeking that true sound of music, traditional, almost spiritual feel. It is geographically smaller and much more manageable than sprawling Vienna.
The market there, nestled right underneath the massive Hohensalzburg fortress, feels significantly more religious, more traditional, and substantially less commercial than Vienna's industrial approach. It has a beautiful, enclosed feel.
The major trade-off, however, is the cost. Salzburg, due to its size and fame, is often even more expensive than Vienna for hotel accommodations, particularly in peak December.
And the experience is manageable in a single day or a relaxed two-day trip. It is a fantastic stop on a larger itinerary, but rarely works as a long-term base.
Okay, option 2, Budapest. If you're seeking vastly better overall value, a grittier, more modern excitement, and a better party scene, and honestly better food best, Budapest is the superior choice.
It's an easy train ride away, about 2.5 hours, making it highly accessible from Vienna. The difference in cost is stark. The sources confirm Budapest markets are about 30% cheaper overall.
And critically, the food is noted as being significantly superior in quality and cost. Think rich, traditional Hungarian heavy stews, savory langos, and the iconic delicious chimney cake.
Plus, the thermal baths are spectacular in winter, offering a crucial escape from the cold. The necessary trade-off is the polish. Budapest is less imperial, less refined, and frankly more chaotic than the efficient machine of Vienna. But for the traveler prioritizing food quality and budget, the value proposition is undeniable.
For those listeners flying long distances from the US, Australia, or Asia, the sources highly recommend the multi-city strategy, the combo itinerary, or imperial triangle. This maximizes the cost and effort of international travel.
The suggested route maximizes efficiency and cultural variety. Fly into Prague for 2 days for that fairy tale medieval feel.
Then train to Vienna for 3 days for the imperial grandeur and polish.
And then take the train to Budapest for 3 days for the better food and party scene. This combination offers the full spectrum of market styles and price points.
Or, if you're strictly basing yourself in Vienna and need a low-cost, low-friction escape, there is the day trip micro-combo, Bratislava.
Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia, is only about an hour away, easily accessible by the Twin City liner boat or by cheap fast train. The benefit here is immense charm and the incredible cost saving.
Bratislava's old town is tiny, cute, and critically its market is super local, small, and significantly cheaper than Vienna. You can find lunch there for half the price of a mid-range Vienna meal.
The logistics work perfectly. You can enjoy a cheap, authentic, low-crowd lunch in Bratislava and still be back in Vienna in time for an evening performance at the State Opera.
Leveraging Vienna's high culture while benefiting from Slovakia's low prices.
It offers a perfect, low-cost counterpoint to Vienna's high-premium, high-friction experience.
Final segment, the final verdict matrix. We've looked at the costs, the traps, the necessary gear, and the competition. We've assessed the scale and the substance. Is Vienna the archetype, worth the tinsel-wrapped hype and the associated cost?
Let's run through the definitive verdict for each traveler type based on the sources, starting with the backpacker.
Verdict: skip it. The sources were firm. Vienna is simply too expensive and too high friction to be enjoyed properly on a severe budget. You will spend your time cold and counting every single penny, which detracts entirely from the experience.
They are better off financially in a place like Krakow or specifically Budapest.
Okay. The mid-range couple or friends traveling together.
Verdict: go, but plan relentlessly. This is the romantic standard. If you have the budget, that 250 euro per person per day, the unparalleled imperial backdrop justifies the cost.
And our core advice here, stay in District 7 Neubau, specifically near the Neubagas U3 station or the Museum's Quartier area. It is cheaper, has better local restaurants, offers cooler, better market vibes at Spittelberg, and helps you avoid those aggressively expensive city center hotels.
The family?
Verdict: yes, with caution. Kids will absolutely enjoy this spectacular ice skating rink at the Rathausplatz. It's world-class, and the amusement park market at Prater. However, the sources stress that the density of the crowds is incredibly stressful with strollers and toddlers.
It's deemed perfect for families with teenagers who can navigate and appreciate the history, but maybe wait until the kids are older.
And the luxury traveler.
Verdict: absolutely. Vienna does luxury better than almost anywhere. You will experience seamless private tours, guaranteed box seats at the opera, and 5-star hotels that successfully insulate you from the high friction of the crowds. It is the definition of a seamless, top-tier winter experience.
So let's summarize our overall score, starting with logistics.
From a logistics standpoint, we are giving Vienna a solid 8/10. It scores high because the city is efficient, the infrastructure is clean, and the public transit is superb.
But it loses those 2 points for the severe cost premium, that undeniable tourist tax feeling, and the cash-only dilemma at the core markets.
From an experience standpoint, the score is higher, 910. It is the archetype. It is the standard against which all other markets are judged. Even the parts that feel engineered or artificial are redeemed because the backdrop of that heavy, illuminated imperial history is so fundamentally real and inherently magical.
Our final actionable recommendation recap to make your trip a success.
Timing is crucial. Go the first week of December, avoiding the weekends entirely. The sources noted that Tuesday through Wednesday is the ideal time to avoid the peak crunch of weekend visitors and local crowds.
Base yourself strategically near a U-Bahn station again. The 7th District is highly recommended. Do not try to walk everywhere. You will fail due to the damp cold and the sheer scale.
And budget is non-negotiable. Budget €200 per person per day for the mid-range traveler to do this trip properly and avoid the misery of constant penny pinching. That includes your accommodation split.
And remember the golden rule for food. Drink the glühwein wine, or punch in the open air for the atmosphere, but prioritize eating your schnitzel, your goulash, or a proper dinner in a warm, comfortable local restaurant or bakery, rather than standing freezing in the Rathausplatz mosh pit.
Exactly. We've covered the soul, the wallet, the win slice, and the need for cash.
Now for the final thought we leave you with. We spent this entire deep dive on the necessary tension between the historical, local Krippenmarkt, the genuine religious and social roots, and the modern, massive, commercialized market-industrial complex.
We challenge you, the listener, to actively seek out those moments of true Austrian living room culture, that cluster of locals standing and complaining about politics over their glühwein, and to reflect on how those genuine elements still manage to survive within that engineered, high-cost structure.
Yeah. And ultimately, for those of you planning your winter itinerary, the provocative question is this. Does the sheer, unparalleled backdrop of that imperial history, the safety and the engineering efficiency, truly justify the undeniable price premium compared to its cheaper, grittier, and often better-fed neighbors in the Imperial Triangle?
That is the choice you have to make when you book that flight. Enjoy the deep dive, plan relentlessly, and may your glühwein always be warm and your fan returns always simple.